Hey guys, so normally I do movie reviews here on my channel, but every once in a while there's a web series that I kind of get really involved with. There's a web series that kind of really hooks me right away, and I gotta watch all the episodes like everybody else. And that show would be The Mandalorian, streaming right now on Disney Plus. Um, Obviously, when Disney Plus launched back in November, which I think it was November for that. Obviously, The Mandalorian was kind of their highlight show that they were bringing to their streaming service. With all the Star Wars fans out there, with being about a bounty hunter and the love for Boba Fett that character has gotten over the years for Star Wars. So it was about time that Disney explored a show about a bounty hunter in the Star Wars universe. It wasn't Boba Fett, but it is a character who is also a Mandalorian like Boba Fett, who's also a bounty hunter like Boba Fett. So it would make sense that Disney would want to pursue a show about a bounty hunter in this universe. So I guess I'm gonna just say right off the bat, this video is going to contain spoilers. I do have some positives and negatives about season one of Mandalorian that is kind of spoilerish territory. So if you have not seen all of season one of The Mandalorian, please do so before finishing this video. We are going to go into spoiler territory talking about Mandalorian season one in this video. So overall, guys, in this overall show, we see the bounty hunter of the Mandalorian. He has all these side missions throughout the show. Obviously, he encounters a young baby Yoda that he's trying to protect throughout the show, and also throughout the show he's trying to find like a safe place for to place him to make sure that he doesn't get hurt, so at that if a bounty is on his own head, it won't hurt baby Yoda as well. And that's kind of the running theme and story of the Mandalorian in the season one show. So I guess right off the bat, I really love the show a lot. I'm glad that Disney has already greenlit a season two of the show. I'm glad that Jon Favreau has been very involved with the show as both a writer and a producer. I've loved all the stuff he's done as a filmmaker. Iron Man 1 is probably one of my all-time favorite films that Jon Favreau happened to direct. Obviously, a lot of people love what he did with Elf. And another small film that he's worked on that I've always loved was Chef, another great film from him that he also happened to star in. So there's a lot of things about The Mandalorian that I absolutely love. So let's go over some positives and negatives as to why I love The Mandalorian so much. First and foremost, this really is a neat bounty hunter show. I really like how this is a Star Wars show that isn't about Jedis. It's not about the Skywalker family. It's not necessarily about Yoda, but there's definitely a character that's the same species as Yoda in the show and things like that. So for the most part, this is a bounty hunter show, and that's kind of what's so unique about it, is it's a Star Wars story that focuses on a bounty hunter, and I think that's such a cool thing to do for a Star Wars show like this. I also really liked Gina Carano's character in this story. I thought, for this whole season one thing, um, I've always kind of really liked her as an actress so far. I thought with her MMA background and now with her acting background, there's really kind of a lot of things you can do with her. You can make her the physically tough character. You can make her a beautiful character. You can make her kind of the really likable lady that a character in the story befriends, like what the Mandalorian did. I think he even calls her his friend at one point in the show. But I really liked her character. I thought she was very cool. It really does display kind of what Gina Carano can bring to a role in a show like this. Whether you need her to be physically strong or to be the good friend, to be kind of the maybe kind of semi-ish love interest that they choose to go that way in season two. There's just a lot of things they kind of did with her character, and they really kind of show how much Gina Carano can do when you give her the right project and the right kind of role like this. So really loved her character. She did a great job in this show. And once again, I kind of brought this up earlier. I like how the show isn't all about the Jedis. I like how this really does show kind of the life of a bounty hunter and kind of how they don't really eat very much and how they can't really take off their helmet because that would kind of ruin the creed and the code of being this Mandalorian bounty hunter, and how when they walk into a room there's kind of this quietness or people aren't really sure how to react around these characters and things like that. So there's a lot of cool things they did with the show. They made sure that Star Wars wasn't all about the Jedis and the Skywalker family and things like that. So I really like how The Mandalorian made that point very well. I also like the use of Baby Yoda and the use of the Force in this show. I like how Baby Yoda is still kind of the part of the show that's telling you that yes, this is Star Wars. yes, there's characters like Luke Skywalker and all of them in this universe for the show. And I like how the Force is kind of something a lot of these characters aren't used to seeing. So I like how Baby Yoda has introduced a lot of this stuff to these characters, and how this might play off of the show a little bit more if a season 2 gets made, which it sounds like it already is. Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian, I thought was also very strong in the show. I think I did hear somewhere that it wasn't always Pedro Pascal walking around as the Mandalorian in the show. I think there was a lot of times where they were using like a stunt double or something like that. But if you've seen the whole show, obviously you've known that he did take off his helmet at one point in the show. Which was kind of the one and only time we did for sure see Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian character on set of this show. But I thought the way that, whether it was Pedro Pascal or not, whether it was just the voice performance, I like how there was things about his performance as to how he walked around, how he showed a certain emotion as the character and things like that. So huge thumbs up to Pedro Pascal. I thought he did a great job playing the Mandalorian in the Mandalorian show. In general, I was pretty happy with almost all the episodes of the show. That there's one episode in particular I'm going to bring up here in my negatives, but in general, I was pretty happy with all the episodes of the show. Some of them fell a little short, and they felt like they could have been a little longer. But in general, I thought every episode was really good. I felt intrigued about what was going on in the story the whole time. Every episode kept me on the edge of my seat the entire time season 1 was going on, as Disney was uploading more and more episodes. So huge thumbs up to Disney. I loved each and every episode of this show. I also liked how Jon Favreau really got involved as the writer. He had a lot of writing credits for each episode of the show. And there's really kind of something special about him being involved with a show like this, because Jon Favreau, if you've seen like Iron Man or Chef or any of those kind of things, I think he has a very unique way of looking at things differently, making things interesting, making things, um, really making sure this opportunity of a bounty hunter Star Wars show doesn't fall flat. He really made sure everything was super interesting, that it had an interesting characters that we followed around, and they had interesting side missions. So huge thumbs up to Jon Favreau for just getting this show done in the right fashion in general, and obviously for being the writer of the show as well. And I also do like how the Mandalorian really was kind of an episodic kind of a journey. There was times where he did side missions and did smaller things for people that he was earning his trust with and things like that. It wasn't just about him going after the Empire or him going after a Sith Lord or something like that. It really was this episodic journey of him doing these smaller side missions, and it led to a very rewarding experience with the show, I thought. For my negatives of Mandalorian, though, the one episode I brought up from earlier that I thought was kind of the weakest was Chapter 5. I thought it had some lame new characters they tried to introduce us to. There was just kind of a lame episode in general. There was a lot of things about it that I thought they were going to take the show with that they kind of completely dropped by the time Chapter 6 dropped, which is perfectly fine with me because Chapter 6 on out did much more interesting things than what the overall Chapter 5 did of the show. And I guess my biggest complaint with it is just the characters were kind of lame. It was just kind of this Han Solo wannabe, this woman who thought that she was going to be the new babysitter of Baby Yoda and things like that. Just a lot of kind of lame things about it. So I thought Chapter 5 for me personally was the weakest episode of the show. One thing I do hope that Disney does do in the future that is another negative for me is just make these episodes a little longer. So when one of these episodes is only 34 minutes, you got to consider what all that is. That's a recap of the last episode. That's the end credits. So by the time you incorporate the actual show itself, that's not a very long episode. I would even say 30-minute episodes on television are longer than that once you include commercials and things like that. So I really hope they do make longer episodes of Mandalorian, because we do have to wait week by week to get new episodes. So it would be nice to see at least 45 minutes to 60-minute long episodes. Sure, whatever, you can complain about budget and all that stuff, but if we're going to have to wait week by week to see what happens to The Mandalorian, preferably a little longer than 34 minutes if you could. I also thought it just could have been a longer season. I really thought that, it was an episodic journey. Yeah, they wrapped things up by 8 episodes. I thought the way they handled it, though, and if they really wanted to do it, I thought this easily could have been a 10 episode journey for season one. I thought they easily could have benefited from maybe two more episodes of exploring more things about the Mandalorian, or maybe exploring more things with Baby Yoda and things like that. So maybe a longer season for season two, because it's clearly a successful show, so it's not going to hurt you by doing two more episodes than what season one did. So hopefully season two on out will also be a longer season for Star Wars: The Mandalorian. I also do hope, I don't know if others of you will agree with this or not, I thought they could probably incorporate even more Star Wars characters. So now we have Baby Yoda, but maybe once the Baby Yoda phase kind of drops a little bit or kind of fizzles out a little bit, hopefully there's other Star Wars characters we're introduced to, like maybe there's a Wookiee character or something like that, or a droid character that strong resembles, like R2D2 or something like that. I don't know. I thought maybe they can incorporate even more Star Wars characters. I think that'd be kind of cool. I also would love to see Jon Favreau himself direct some of these episodes. I know he kind of wrote a lot of this and was very involved with the show, but as far as I can see, he didn't direct any of these episodes. So I thought that was kind of a missed opportunity here. We got really talented people involved like Taika Waititi and Bryce Dallas Howard, but Jon Favreau himself didn't direct any of these episodes. So hopefully in season two on out, we'll actually see Jon Favreau direct some of these episodes too. So, overall, guys, I'm going to give Mandalorian season one a 9 out of 10. I think this is a great show. I'm glad Disney Plus is going to continue with the season two of the show. I hope they continue to do interesting things with the show and interesting directions. And I hope Jon Favreau stays involved in the show as well. So, 9 out of 10 for me. If you have not seen Mandalorian season one, be sure to do so. It's a great show on Disney Plus.